The way the world works is changing. According to VentureBeat, 80% of the workforce is mobile. That's 2.7 billion people. Some are in industries you expect, like agriculture, construction, and manufacturing. But some 1.1 billion of that big number are working in education, retail, hospitality, and healthcare. How do you connect with your workforce that's, well, out in the workforce? How do you bring the connected experiences offered to office workers to those who are working in the field? Today, on the Internal Comms Procast, we will talk to Patty Salcedo-Morton of Driscoll's Berries. She shares what analog and digital channels she uses to connect with Driscoll's large, multicultural seasonal workforce, and how she measures the success of each.
Because we have field employees, and we have employees in distribution centers, and we have our full-time employees, right? So people in the fields are not going to be able to receive information the same way people that are sitting on a desk receive their message.
The Internal Comms Procast is sponsored by Circle. Circle takes the guesswork out of your communications. Circle automatically personalizes your staff newsletter, website, and intranet using the content you're already creating. Circle's insights will tell you what content staff are engaging with. Get real engagement insights for your entire organization at the click of a button. Learn more at circle.com. That's CERKL.com. Circle, weird spelling, awesome engagement. Welcome to the Internal Comms Procast. I am your host, Barry Williams. Today's guest is leading the charge to better engage mobile workers. Her company's thoughtful approach to engaging non-desk employees blends a great mix of channels with a dash of cultural empathy.
My name is Patty Salcedo-Morton, and I'm a Global Senior Internal Communications Program Manager at Driscoll's. Well, I study journalism and organizational communication in Bogota, Colombia. After I graduated, I was fortunate enough to find a job in Driscoll's in the Internal Communications Department. And since then, I've been working in internal communications, which is also known as organizational communications. And I've been doing it for 10 years.
Driscoll's Berries is a family-owned and operated company who has been around for more than 100 years. Driscoll's is a global market leader for fresh strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries. Driscoll's develops proprietary breeds of berries and then licenses them exclusively to independent farmers. Driscoll's has employees, both seasonal and full-time, in the US, Australia, China, Chile, Mexico, Morocco, the Netherlands, Peru, Portugal, Spain, and in the UK. The dedicated internal comm staff of Driscoll's Berries is 8 strong, with others in the company pitching in during the peak season to make sure employees enjoy clear communications. Berry processing is a seasonal operation. During the peak months, October to April, Driscoll's staff swells.
Okay, we are about total 8,865 employees company-wide. About 2,300 are desk employees and 6,564 are non-desk employees. So our non-desk employees make up for 75% of the company. However, there is a caveat here. This is during our peak season. So this data was taken in one snapshot of the year where we have our majority of our employees. This number can be lower throughout the year, way lower throughout the year as the berry season stops and they are laid off.
Like many companies with a mix of desked and non-desked employees, Driscoll's began their internal communications efforts focusing on the office staff. They are easier to reach. But as their business grew, so did the need to communicate with their important mobile workforce.
Okay, so we started by really focusing on desk employees. And we do have a lot of tools and a lot of processes that work for non-desk employees. But lately, after we found out, well, we have more non-desk employees than desk employees. We really should be paying attention to this audience because they're the soul of our company. And we cannot, our consumers will not be able to buy our berries if it wasn't for them as well. So we better keep them engaged and keep them informed and find ways. So after really digging into the data and understanding, we need to start communicating better with our non-desk employees. Our strategy has evolved to focus more on the communications to them, and not even just the communications, but understand the role, the jobs they do, what do they care for, what is important to them.
With seasonal non-desk staff spread over 6 continents, choosing what language to communicate in can be daunting. Driscoll's team chose to keep things simple.
Language is a barrier. However, we translate everything in both English and Spanish because 66% of our workforce speaks Spanish. And it's not just that it's their preferred language. So we have employees in the US that speak Spanish. It's a large population. And then we have Mexico, Chile, and Spain as well. So we do translate everything in both English and Spanish. China is growing very rapidly. So we have started to do some translation work for them as well. And in our, the MEA business unit, so that stands for Driscolls of Europe, Middle East, and Africa, because they have so many languages there. They have the Netherlands, Morocco, Spain, Portugal, UK, because they have so many languages there. They have decided to communicate only in English, because otherwise it will be very difficult to keep up with so many languages. So they communicate only in English. However, in my role as a global support function, when we have global information that is very important, for example, our code of business conduct, that we do translate in every language that we speak, because we want to make sure that employees understand exactly how they are supposed or are expected to behave in the world and as a Driscoll's employee. We make sure that any legal and compliance documents or information is translated in the language that needs to be. We have translators, and then at the top of that, we have in-country reviewers, which are Driscoll's employees. They make sure that it is well translated, but it's understood within Driscoll's.
Language is just one barrier to overcome when you are communicating across cultures. Different countries have different communications norms and customs, and Driscoll's aims to respect them.
Yeah, cultural is a big part of it, but also our audience, because we have field employees, and we have employees in distribution centers, and we have our full-time employees, right? So people in the fields are not going to be able to receive information the same way people that are sitting on a desk receive their message. So we do rely a lot on face-to-face communication. When I mean face-to-face, are meetings face-to-face. So probably managers and HR local representatives are our main communication channels with those employees. That's when I said a cultural barrier, is because we cannot expect that employees that work in the field are gonna read an email that we're sending. It is common that, for example, in Mexico, when somebody passes away, they like to invite all employees that are in the team to the funeral and make arrangements and have messages for them and everything. They put that information in their bulletin boards. Some countries they like that to display those sentiments and are comfortable with that information, communicating that. Other countries are not. So we let different countries and business units to communicate according to what their employees like and what they feel comfortable with.
Patty and the Driscoll's internal comms team deploys an exciting and innovative mix of channels to reach employees where they are. She's going to walk us through them.
Okay, so for our non-desk employees, we have a wide variety of channels. Like I said, I don't like to refer to people as a channel of communication, but to be honest, that's our number one. A lot of them are the carriers of the messages, and they are delivering to their teams either in face-to-face meetings or kickoff meeting for the season, etc. So that's one. Also, we have I'm going to start from traditional to more innovative. So we have, like I said, our people, our managers and HR people. Then we have our bulletin boards. When I say bulletin boards, probably there's nothing that stands out, or somebody will say, oh, what a great idea. They've been around forever. But what we did with these bulletin boards around the world, were we came up with like a branded structure. One that shows it allows for employees to see how Driscoll is organized at a local level. So if somebody doesn't know that we have another business unit, they'll be able to know by the bulletin boards. We have like tiles, headers that divide information in global, business unit, country, and that location in particular. So again, branded bulletin boards that reflect how our company is organized. So that's one. That's very traditional. Then we have our employee newsletter. That one has a very special place in my heart because I started it, and we are coming up on our 20th edition. It is called Berry Bites. It is translated in both English and Spanish. It is published in both English and Spanish. And we have an electronic version and a hard copy version. The electronic version goes to employees with access to Driscoll's email and access to technology, and the printed copy. They go to every location, but the majority of them are printed for our non-desk employees, for our seasonal workforce. So we distribute about 2,000 copies globally. We try to make sure the content is relevant to all audiences, that is visually appealing, and that employees see themselves reflected in the newsletter. It's pretty much storytelling, employee stories, and so far it is one of the real global communication channels because everybody has access to it.
One way Driscoll's is measuring the success of the paper newsletter is by including games, like Find the Difference or crosswords, that employees can play and then enter to win a small prize. Another way Driscoll's is listening to the preferences of the non-desked employees is through surveys. For non-desked employees, these surveys are done on paper. To keep the message clear across cultures and languages, the comms team is using a version of the Likert scale, where faces represent emotions.
We have to do it by cycle, so we have 3 cycles in the year because it depends on the season they're working on. So we have different countries participating in the different cycles. So for instance, China will have an employee engagement survey for seasonal employees for the first time. And we're going to have it in other locations like Chile. And we really customize, and when you were talking about cultural differences, we do have employees that are not very, in our seasonal population, that are not very comfortable with technology. So while desk employees receive these employee engagement surveys every 2 years online, we've decided that for some locations with our non-desk employees, we're still going to do it by paper. And we're using the Likert scale. They're faces that have the strongly disagree, neither agree or disagree, agree, and strongly agree. So we have a total of about 30 questions, and they're about engagement.
Up next on the Internal Comms Procast, Patty shares more about her non-desk worker channel mix and how she's using social media to tell employees stories. Internal Comms Pro is proud to present the Rise and Shine series, coming to a city near you. Rise and Shine gives you access to what's hot and brewing in the internal comms world. Each event, a featured speaker will talk about the most current strategies, best practices, latest trends, and tools that drive performance. Then an expert panel will share actual work products and their secrets on how they applied the speaker's topic in their own organizations. Rise and Shine is free to attend, but spots are limited. See where we are going to be next and join the fun for free at internalcommspro.com/shine. We are back with more of Driscoll's Berry's innovative strategy for engaging employees beyond the desk with Patty Salcedo-Morton. Some communicators rely solely on analog channels to speak to their out-of-office workers. But after recognizing the importance of the non-desked audience, The Driscoll's Berries internal comms team decided to ramp up their digital channel mix to reach their entire workforce. One channel they are experimenting with is live streaming.
We had our first live streaming event where employees that work in the fields for our nursery in DORA, Driscoll's of the Americas, were invited to attend. Not to say they have not been invited to attend before to other events, but this one was really targeting our non-desk employees for our nursery operations, which is the department where the majority of our non-desk employees are. About 1,800 non-desk employees participated. They work in very remote locations and they were able to connect without any problem. I think the technology that we use allows a pretty easy connection and allows this to happen. It made employees feel part of a team. And for the first time, we had a simultaneous translation. So attendees were able to listen to the live streaming event in English or in Spanish. I really enjoy hearing the comments from our participants. These are employees that work in the fields, in our nurseries, in very remote locations where you cannot even have, we don't even have power or sometimes internet, Yet we organized it in a way where they were able to all come together to big rooms. They were provided food and beverages as well. And they were able to hear from their leaders, maybe from the leader, the vice president of the nursery. We're talking like a lot of employees, almost 2,000 that benefited from this event. And they were asking questions and we received comments like, we feel valued by the company. We don't never get the opportunity to go to this kind of events. It was a great way to understand what the nursery is doing, what Driscoll's is doing. How do I contribute to the success of Driscoll's? So after reading all of those comments, I'm thinking we need to do more of this around the world, not only for the nursery, but for all the rest of our non-desk employees.
In 2017, Driscoll's Berries added dynamic digital signage to their comms mix. The pilot began with locations in the US and Mexico. Patty says they installed the digital signs in areas where they have a high concentration of non-desk employees, like nurseries and distribution centers.
So we have a content management program that is we have purchased from a vendor and we populate the data from our end. So we divided the content into global, business unit, and local. But about 80% of the content in those digital signage is local. So we have local people posting local content in there. And our vendor doesn't do it for us. We do it. What they developed were the templates. So for instance, we have new hires, promotions, birthdays, different like templates to communicate like safety, information, or recognition. And then we have other live data feeds like weather and the Instagram that is automatic. We don't have to do anything to that data, but there is a lot of data entry that we do at the different locations to keep the information updated. We have branded templates we design. They have the freedom to publish as many or as little as information as they want. So they control that. We always have on the screen rotating our mission, vision, and values.
The birthdays on the sign serve a measurement purpose as well. Employees say they receive a lot more birthday salutations after their special day is featured on the signage. Patty says the next measurement they want to try is on-site tally counters. Finally, Driscoll's is turning to photo-sharing social media app, Instagram, to better engage non-desk workers around the world. Driscoll's has a private account that's only for employees. Here's how it works.
So even though our non-desk employees may not receive communications from Driscoll's through our email, like a lot of employees do, we came to find out they do have, a lot of them have mobile devices and smart mobile devices. And so we decided to start an internal Instagram account. And this account was not really developed for non-desk employees, but in a very organic way, it has become a very successful way to communicate and share news with our non-desk employees. So this account is private only for Driscoll's employees. So when somebody asks to follow us, we have to go and verify it is actually a Driscoll's employees before we accept the request. It is very easy to measure. It's a free platform. It's friendly. People know how to use it. It's globally accessible with the exception of China. China doesn't have Instagram. And it is also, we have integrated this Instagram account with our digital signage and our intranet. So employees are able to see the pictures and stories that we post on our Instagram account on digital signage and our intranet. And as a result of all of this, today we have about 70% of our followers are non-desk employees.
If you're thinking of ramping up your communications efforts to non-desked employees, Patty has some lessons to share.
I would advise that it is key to get input from the employees. Sometimes we implement solutions because we think it's the right thing to do, but it will be better, the outcome will be better if we implement those solutions based on what the employees want and what they need. So in the case of implementing new internal communication strategies for different audiences, it is key to hold focus groups, also have conversations with managers to understand what challenges they have when interacting or communicating or passing along messages to their employees. It is key to make sure we understand exactly what those challenges are and what is suitable for non-desk employees. One day, I hope that we're able to reach all non-desk employees and they understand that the role that they play at Driscoll's, and they also feel they are value and they're a value member of our company.
We want to thank Patty for sharing her strategy with us today. If you want to learn more about Driscoll's mobile workforce engagement strategy, join Patty, who will be speaking at the Intranet Reloaded conference in Boston this April. Next time on the Internal Comms Procast, we talked to professional story coach Shane Meeker about how organizations can tell better, more effective stories. Shane turned his love of film into a career. He serves as the corporate storyteller and historian for consumer products powerhouse Procter & Gamble, and is the author of Story Mythos, a movie guide to better business stories. Shane gives us his recipe for great business stories, and shares why your organization or product should not be the hero of your brand story.
Never, ever, ever make your brand the hero. Never make your business the hero. Never make your company the hero. The people you serve are always the hero. Your customer and your consumer are always the hero.
If you are enjoying the Internal Comms Procast, you should join our newsletter list. Each week, we deliver a free personalized email newsletter full of news, events, and best practices from our collective of trusted internal communications thought leaders. It's a great way to stay up to date on the latest trends and practices in internal comms. Join today at internalcommspro.com/newsletter. You are going to love it. Internal Comms Procast is produced by Super Awesome Media. Our executive producer is Rachel Foles, Connor Sweeney is our engineer, and Michael Musilli is our digital media specialist. Our theme music is Please Listen Carefully by Jazzer via the Free Music Archive. Show notes and more are available at internalcommspro.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at InternalCommPro. Thank you for listening.